welcome back to Fireside Gaming, aimed at relaxation and sleep. Tonight, we're talking about the PSP, LittleBigPlanet, the up-and-coming Mafia game, Old Country, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So, if you're sitting comfortably, we'll begin. Video games have long served as a reflection of technical ambition, artistic expression, and cultural relevance. Across generations, specific titles and platforms have refined expectations and introduced bold new directions in game design. Among these, Sony's PlayStation Portal, PSP, PlayStation Portable, PSP, marked a crucial shift in handheld gaming. While LittleBigPlanet introduced a new era of player creativity, today, upcoming titles like Mafia Old Country carry forward this spirit of innovation, reinterpreting classic genres through the lens of cinematic storytelling and historical immersion. Together, these represent milestones in gaming's journey from portable experimentation to community-driven play to richly detailed narrative experiences. The PSP was a portable revolution. Launched in 2004, the PlayStation Portable represented Sony's ambitious entry into the handheld gaming market. Competing with Nintendo's long-standing dominance, the PSP was revolutionary in several respects. It offered near-console quality graphics on a sleek portable device, boasting titles like God of War and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, as well as titles like Daxter. With features like the UMD, the Universal Media Disc, movies and Wi-Fi capabilities, as well as multimedia playback, which you don't even see that much in handhelds today. The PSP blurred the lines between gaming device and entertainment hub. More than just hardware, PSP signaled a shift in what gamers expected from portable devices. Now imagine it gave Nintendo quite the run for its money. It emphasized mature narratives, immersive world, and high production values, eventually overshadowed by mobile gaming and the Nintendo DS. The PSP laid the foundation for the PSP Vita and inspired modern portable hybrids like the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck. The game you can see me playing tonight is Little Big Planet, with the idea of play, create, and share. The PSP expanded where we play. Little Big Planet launched first on the PS3 in 2008, redefined how we play. Developed by Media Molecule, the game introduced the now iconic play, create, share philosophy. On the surface, it was a physics-based platformer starring the charming Sackboy. You can see me playing here. Beneath that surface, however, there was a powerful toolkit for level design, storytelling, and user-generated content. Players could build their own levels and complete with interactive logic systems, musical compositions, and visual assets. Design every nook and cranny. A vibrant community quickly emerged, as I recall, sharing millions upon millions of creations that rivaled professional game levels in ambition and design. Little Big Planet was not just a game, it was a platform, a sandbox, and a launchpad. Launchpad for future creative-focused titles like Dreams, Minecraft, and Roblox. It was all done right here before. The influence can still be felt in the modern indie space, in tools that empower players to become developers. In a way, it democratized game design before engines like Unity and Unreal became widely accessible. Let's move on to an up-and-coming game, Mafia Old Country. If you've played the first three, then you may surely be looking forward to this installment. We fast forward to the present, and gaming's evolution continues through narrative maturity. Mafia Old Country, the new installment in the long-running Mafia series, set to explore the franchise's roots in early 20th century Sicily. Rather than continuing the urban prohibition-era setting of the previous entries, Old Country is a prequel that delves into the origins of organized crime and the rise of the Mafia's code of honor. Unlike its predecessors, Old Country appears to lean heavily into Godfather-style cinematic storytelling, with a focus on family, betrayal, and survival in a deeply divided society. It promises a historically grounded and open world filled with dynamic characters, branching dialogue, and brutal close-quarter combat. By setting the game in rural Sicily, Developers Hangar 13 are trading skyscrapers and neon lights for olive groves and vendettas. Much like Red Dead Redemption 2 redefined westerns, Mafia Old Country seeks to reshape the gangster genre by portraying its formative years. In doing so, the trailers echo the immersive ambitions of both something from the PSP era and the narrative complexity that earlier games of the PSP era hinted at, where stories emerge from context, systems, and personal involvement. What we can see here with what I hold in my hand and discussing future games is a timeline of innovation that no one expected. From the PSP's bold hardware to LittleBigPlanet's creative empowerment, and discussing about Mafia's atmospheric storytelling, here we can get an idea of some key chapters in gaming's narrative. Games are not just products, they're responses to the cultural and technological challenges of their time. For example, the PSP brought us console-quality games in your pocket. Mafia Old Country promises to reframe the past through compelling interactive drama. And obviously there's a lot of time in between both, but you start to get the picture. Looking back and forward, these titles illustrate how gaming continues to evolve, not just through graphics or mechanics, but through a vision of what gaming is. And this perfectly brings me on to Clair Obscur. In the world of visual art, few techniques possess the dramatic power and emotional depth of Clair Obscur. Derived from the Italian word light and dark, the term refers to the strong contrast between light and shadow used to model three-dimensional forms and evoke mood more than a stylistic choice. Clair Obscur has been a cornerstone of Western history, influencing painters, filmmakers, photographers, and even the video game designers. Its use transcends aesthetic beauty, shapes perception, builds narrative, manipulates emotion. The term Clair Obscur first gained prominence during the Renaissance, when artists began to explore realistic representation of the human body in natural light. While early medieval art often appeared flat and symbolic, Renaissance painters sought depth, volume, and atmosphere. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael used subtle gradations of light, to render faces and bodies with striking realism. However, it was Caravaggio in the late 16th and early 17th century who elevated Clair Obscur to new heights. His bold compositions and theatrical use of light shocked and fascinated audiences. Works like The Calling of St. Matthew and Judith's Beheading showcase figures emerging from blackness into brilliant light. Their emotions and gestures illuminated as if caught in the spotlight. This wasn't just technique, it was psychological drama rendered in paint. The power of Clair Obscur lies not only in its ability to define space, but also in its capacity to create tension. Light becomes a storyteller, and the recent game reflects this. The Baroque painters like Rembrandt and etc. often used candlelight or window lighting to create and imitate emotional charged scenes. Rembrandt in particular mastered the use of light to convey introspection and dignity in his portraits, blending the dramatic with the subtle. And again, you can find this in the game everywhere you go. The design of the cities and the characters, costumes, and the story itself. The principles of Clair Obscur did not remain confined to the canvas. They've been shown in cinema and now in video games. Film noir, the shadow subgenre of the 1940s and 50s, was heavily indebted to this system, this lighting. Directors like Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock employed high contrast lighting to portray moral ambiguity, paranoia, and danger. Citizen Kane is a prime example off the top of my head. The light fractures characters and settings into psychological landscapes. This game and cinema soaked in symbolism, metaphor, taken from this one concept. So, conclude with this. Clair Obscur in cinema, in gaming, is a testament to the enduring power of visual contrast, whether used in the modern form to evoke emotion or build metaphor, or in the original, the interplay of light and shadow. It continues to captivate audiences. From Renaissance altarpieces to Hollywood thrillers and contemporary digital art, Clair Obscur reminds us that sometimes what is unseen is just as powerful as what is revealed. In a world that often seeks clarity, this ancient technique shows that ambiguity, when skillfully and beautifully lit, can be just as profound. Thank you, and join me next time for Fireside Gaming.